And we're back with our final guest on Walk Through Wilson, and this is Buddy Ingram. And Buddy, you are the park manager at Cedars of Lebanon State Park right here in Wilson County. You've been there forever. I think I heard 100 years.
I started in 1975 as a park attendant.
Oh, wow.
And then got on as a ranger in 77.
Okay. And so tell me about some of the changes you've seen in the park. I mean, over the past 40 years now.
The visitation's increased a lot. And the park has changed from kind of being rural to more urban.
Right.
So a lot more development.
So tell us about that. What kind of development are you talking about?
Well, just houses, people moving in the area and the county.
Right.
So that kind of changes things at the park.
Right.
People's how people use the park too has changed somewhat since the 70s. I think the pool visitation was more in the 70s.
And 80s, because I remember
in the 80s, yeah. And
I took swimming lessons there when I was little. Yep.
Did you learn to swim?
I did. That's where I learned to swim. Absolutely.
Well, I think, and people's use of the park's a little different. You have a lot of trail hiking now. You have the short trails are used a lot.
I think that seems to be picking up speed more so now, which I think is a really good thing, and because we have such a great park right here in Wilson County.
Yeah. Weddings. I think we have more weddings than any park in the state system.
Really?
We had over 150 last year.
Really, 150?
Yeah.
Where do they normally get married at?
Well, they like to use the old Cedar Forest Lodge. That's kind of our chapel there at the park. And it was built in the 30s, 37, by WPA workers. And it's a beautiful rock structure.
How many people can fit in there?
We'll let up to 80 people.
Okay.
And then we have another building which we call the Assembly Hall, and they rent that too for weddings.
Now, I've been there for receptions,
Yeah,
I think,
okay, they'll do
years
both.
ago.
And
Yeah.
then we have a gazebo that they like to use.
And there's also a triathlon that's been held there. Are you guys going to do it this
Well,
year?
with the pool being closed, we won't be doing
Right.
it this year. We have cabins, modern cabins that were added back in the late 70s.
So tell me about those again. Like, I've never stayed at one of the cabins, but I've had friends that have stayed and they love them. What are how big are they? How many
We'll
people?
let you put 10 people in the cabin.
Okay.
They are 2 stories. There's a room upstairs with a king-size bed and a room downstairs with a queen-size bed.
Okay.
And then there's 1 bathroom, and then there's a loft with a day bed in it.
Okay. And how many of those do you have?
9.
9. Are they pretty much booked?
They stay booked pretty much all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a historical cabin that we redid several years ago, a couple of years ago, and it's kind of our honeymoon cabin.
Okay. Okay. And speaking of something that there's a new museum. You guys purchased some land on 231, and y'all are gonna.
Yeah, we're in development with it. All the odds and ends haven't been hashed out, and how we're going to staff it and how we're going to run it. We're going to try to do quite a bit of programming, kind of living history programming, and do some traditional type arts there.
Okay.
It was bought. The homestead was bought as a piece of property that joined 231 and the state forest. The park lays in the middle of the state forest. It's the park's about 1,200 acres. The state forest is about 10,000 acres.
Wow.
So, and that particular piece of land was kind of the forest was kind of cut off a little bit from the park, and so this 80 acres kind of ties it all in and gives protection.
Okay. All
So
right. So
basically,
how many total acres is Cedars of Lebanon?
the whole thing is about 12,000 acres,
Wow.
the forest and the park.
And then what about hiking trails? How many miles of hiking trails do you
There's
have?
about, I think there's about 10 miles or so of
10
trails.
miles of
yeah.
trails. Okay.
We've got a running trail now. We're developing a bird trail. We're working on an ADA trail that it was partially funded by the federal government for folks with disabilities to
Right.
use.
Okay.
There'll be a bridge. We're replacing the cave bridge that's
Right.
there now with a nice new bridge that's going to be ADA accessible.
And people still play softball and baseball at the park out
Well,
there? Or do you-
we've changed that somewhat. The old ball field that was there for years and years, we've kind of moved things around and put a playground in one corner of it, and then the gazebo. There's still play areas there.
Right.
But
Right.
we've kind of did a lot of landscaping there and
Yeah.
changed it up a little bit.
And so in addition to the cabins you have on site, you also have a lot of campsites.
Yeah, 118 campsites
118 campsites.
with electric and water hookups.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I think
nice.
we rented
And then-
18,000 campsites last year.
18,000?
Yep. We
Do you
rent
have
them
an idea of
year-round.
how many visitors like a
Somewhere
ballpark?
around 1 million.
Last year?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot.
And we
y'all have
stay
been- and how
busy.
many? There's you, and then
We
how
have
many others?
four rangers.
Four rangers.
I have ladies that work in the office and at the camp store. I think there's 4 of those. Some of the maintenance staff, 7, 8 of those folks.
Okay.
And then we hire usually about 10 to 12 seasonal folks.
In the summer,
in the
summer's your
summertime.
busy,
Yeah,
busy
yeah,
month.
It's picking up now.
Okay.
It seems like it's changing. It used to be summer, but now the way school sets, it's spring and fall is some of our busiest times.
Well, and you've got a full staff, but it sounds like that's a lot of work to do for those few people.
Yeah,
and
we're
but
pushed.
you do have a volunteer program. So tell us about that.
We need volunteers.
Okay,
We
okay.
have a volunteer day the first weekend every month, so people can come out and volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
We also do the Tennessee Promise. We have
This is where the high school students can get
Right,
their volunteer
right,
hours in
right.
to qualify for the scholarship.
Right.
Okay.
We work with those. We work with other school groups. We had, we had a recent ROTC group worked with us.
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch of different groups come out. We've got
And that,
master
what day of
gardeners
the
help
week is
us.
that one? That's the first Saturday?
Yeah, first Saturday in the month.
Of the month. Okay, so if people want to know more about the park and all the stuff that's going on this summer and all year long, where do they need to visit?
Well, they can go on our website.
And what is that?
It's Cedars, Lebanon State Park, and it'll come up. You can go through our department's website or our website.
Okay.
If you go through the department's website, Department of Recreation, Parks and Recreation, it'll be a map will come up, and you can highlight where the park is on the map.
Okay, so you can go on the website, find out what's going on. And the most important thing, we need volunteers the first Saturday of every month because we have this magnificent facility. We need to help it grow.
We depend on volunteers more and more all the time.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about it. I can't wait to head out there this summer. I forgot to talk to you about horse rides. I'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you so much.